But now I'm really happy to introduce Kaidi Ruusalepp, who's the founder of Funderbeam. And I happen to know that Kaidi, besides being really passionate about building this platform for startups to find funding, also likes orienteering, which is a sport that you need to find your way on a rough terrain. And in a way, I think it's also very similar to what you're actually doing work-wise.
It is.
Helping the startups to find their way.
Yes, yes. It's the business. You have to run. You have to find the dots on your map. You make mistakes, but you get the results and the finish. So you can't quit even if you've done the mistakes.
Okay. So I'll give the stage to you, and I'll leave this thing.
Thank you.
So you can just, anyone has a question, just raise your hand and Kaidi will throw it.
Thanks. Happy to be here on the stage. Taizo, please find yourself a seat. And then besides Taizo, I'm very honored to invite our president, Kersti Kaljulaid, to join the discussion. And Peter Vesterbacka, please join. Welcome. All right. Right. Do we have the slides as well? Yes. Yes, we do. So to be on the stage, you either should have a great vision or a fact. If I look at the chair here, I see a vision. So we all know our beloved president, Kaljulaid. We've heard the story of Taizo's son. Peter, who are you?
Just happen to be around. So, yeah.
All right. What should the world know about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been involved in startups and entrepreneurship for like last 20 years. So started this little thing called Slush in Helsinki that you might have heard about. It's world's biggest and obviously best, goes without saying, startup event. And we also brought it to Tokyo together with Taizo, and to Singapore, and then Shanghai. So it's actually something that we've been actually working very, very closely, Finland and Estonia, and I think that super happy to kind of like see what's going on here. I mean, Latitude is fantastic event, and then we have Slush in Helsinki in November, and what I've been working on now, like recently, is this finest Bay Area. So there's Bay Area, you know, back in the US, and Taizo mentioned Palo Alto, it's one of the cities there. But what we're building here, actually, Finland and Estonia together, is the finest Bay Area. So there is a Bay Area somewhere else, but we're building the finest one. So that's
so we're going to be the center.
Yeah, we're already at the center and like at the heart of Eurasia. So we're just building on the superior geographic location of Finland and Estonia. So we happen to be at kind of like the center of the world.
Right.
So just the way it is. Yeah.
So to kick off the panel, as I mentioned, Vision is sitting on the chairs. I armed myself with some of the facts. And because we're going to talk about the trends, and we're going to talk about the global mega trends, and to understand how we in this region can survive, then I looked around the information around the mega trends and what are the big thinkers predict what the future is going to be, and I ended up with using two analysts or two reports. One is just recently issued by the PwC, and they predict the global economy in 2050, and the other is McKinsey about mega trends. But as you can see from the numbers, is that the shift between who used to be the main economies is going to change. We're going to see Vietnam, Philippines, Nigeria rising massively next 30 years. We see that China is going to be even bigger. Europe is going to be even smaller. In India is the largest growing economy by 2050. And with the help of my designers, we try to put the numbers of the size of economy to the map. And you can see that China and India together in 2050 are going to be much larger than the rest of the world. So we are in between the shifts, we are in between the economies, and we are in between these big bubbles and the small bubbles. And from G7, the shift is going to E7. So from US, UK, France, Germany, Japan, Canada, and Italy, we're going to be China, India, Indonesia, Brazil, Russia, Mexico, and Turkey. And if we talk about the trends, then it's the greater global connectivity, it's the urbanization, it's about accelerating technology, and it's about getting old, living longer than we used to be. So I leave this slide as the most illustrative slide to describe what's it going to be. And if we look at the mega trends and if we look around, what should we take in consideration of predicting the future or actually running the countries, then I'd like to start from President Kaljulaid, is that what are the mega trends we here in this region should look? You mentioned a lot that the changing in the work is one of the trends. And how much do you think actually the leaders in the countries look at the mega trends and then run the country?
Indeed, thanks for giving me the floor first, but I would like to stress that actually we in the public sector, we are followers. We are following what megatrends are being created in the private sector. We are not in the job of the innovation, we are rather in the quick adapting process and making sure that the rest of the society catches up with the front runners. That's the business we are in. And therefore, I'm taking a narrowly public sector view here on the stage today, because the other actors are from private, so I think it will be more complete this way. I already told indeed that I think work changes, radically. There will be no geography, the work will be intermittent, people will have much more free time because the sustenance comes from far less hours. And indeed, states need to adapt to that. For us here in this region, narrowly thinking of, let's say, Estonia, Finland, the areas which we now call difficult to habit, which are far from Helsinki or far from Tallinn, where few people want to live, where living standard is lower than in capitals today, they will be the best places in the world to live in. Because it will not matter at all where you are. We'd be best prepared that in 20 years we will laugh about the question who would like to habit in Rapina here in Estonia. Everybody in the world will be competing to live in Rapina. The other trend I am seeing is the uselessness of 30-year strategies, because public sector runs quite a lot on long-term strategies. And if you think of 20th century, it worked really well because only horse cart and petrol lamp actually went out of fashion during 20th century. Nowadays, we know very well that what we use today is Stone Age in 5 years' time. So you cannot create really a 30-year strategy and then have a general agreement and carry it out. So you have to be much more value-based. The only thing we know about the future is that our children want to be free and have a good life. That's all. And instead of one 30-year strategy or even three, what you will have is a parallel stream of ideas going forward. And any idea might work or might die, and you don't know which ones. But you cannot afford actually not to have several in the stream. Very simple example, Taizo-san here touched upon the electricity grid. He thinks it will be off-grid. Well, there are other people who think that it will be actually long-distance DC carrying solar from equator to polar. We don't know who is the petrol lamp builder here. Someone will be. So there will be lots of these elements. We will do lots of unnecessary thinking looking back, but we need to do it nevertheless. There is no getting away from it, because otherwise we will never be prepared for what society will bring. Now try to get a, I don't know, well, fiscal balance or a 5-year strategy for your budget in these conditions. It will be a challenge. And the third one, as I already said, it will be a challenge to have any kind of budget at all because of the intermittency of the work and changing trends very quickly. Then the third issue is that the state in the future will actually be much more community-driven, as this Latitude 59 here is community-driven. There will be community initiatives supported by social entrepreneurs and public sector. All three need to go hand in hand, and we need to adapt to this system. It will again be much more intermittent than we are today, and states will never be again able to make promises reaching 50 years ahead. We all need to know that we need to live with it.
So it's from forcing people to pay more, creating the willingness them to pay in your country and use your services.
Absolutely, because what you already see is that if you force people to work 12 months a year, 5 days a week and 30 years to earn a pension, they just opt out of your system.
Yes.
And if you want to catch their earnings capacity and tax them when they are doing the best, before they actually start needing social services and support, you need to be flexible. I don't know yet how, but I know we need to.
Yeah.
So Taizo, President mentioned a small town called Rapina. I'm from Põlva. Anyone from Rapina? Ah, all right. So Rapina and Põlva, we're going to compete for being the best place because the distance is only 20 kilometers, 2 towns. Taizo, what makes you to come to Estonia and create the best city on earth to Põlva and Rapina? Sorry, mentioning Põlva first.
From the outsiders of the Estonia, like me, the Estonia is very, very attractive for me, especially for me, because you know that all the government system is digitized, and also that all the data is accessible, and the people's literacy is very, very high. I think I heard that from the ex-CIO of the Estonia that I think, for example, from Japanese point of view, if Japanese government, in order to catch up for the Japanese government to the Estonia, I think it takes more than 15 years or 20 so to catch up to today's figure. So I think that the Japanese the government system, the Japan system is terrible, as a matter of fact. So it's very hectic to operate the system for the citizens. And also the literacy is, because there are too many people, so the literacy is totally diversified. It's very hard for the elderly people to get land. So Estonia has already accomplished so to digitizing the country management system. So the Estonia can go forward much quicker than other countries. So, you know, thanks to the AI and the IoT and so on, the data is much more important than today in the future. So you guys can go forward. I think that one of the best in the world to create the new values for the citizens. So Estonia will be the great benchmark for the rest of the world. So as I said, I like to be the bridge among the different parties. So I should definitely be the advocate of the Estonia that, hey, why don't we, the benchmark, and why don't we get land from the Estonia so that we will update our citizens' life as a citizen. So that's why I came here and to learn what's going on here.
Okay, so in the future it doesn't matter where we live.
No.
We use the services, that's best, and we pay for the services, that's best as a citizens.
Yeah.
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 So
In a very efficient way.
Excellent. So Peter, how do we get Finns to Estonia and Estonians to Finland?
Yeah, I think that we're already doing like a pretty good job on bringing lots of Finnish people here and lots of Estonian people to Finland. So I think it works. but I think that that's also like a great example. I mean, but I would also broaden. I mean, if you look at like this region, that we have a long tradition. If you look at Nordic countries and now here Finland and Estonia, that very open societies. And maybe one thing there that and I'm like super happy to hear you know like the vision of like that Estonia, that it's really like the first digital society with kind of like a nation state. So I think that's like a very nice way of putting it, because the thing is that I think that in the end it's not about the technology, because I mean we all know that you can also use technology in other ways, you know. So if you look at kind of like we should all like reread, you know, Big Brother like 1984. And you know, like think about that as well. So I think that the government side has huge responsibility to basically make sure that we live in this kind of like civil society, and again, you can use technology kind of like in a good way and in a bad way. And I think if you look at now this part of the world, you look at Estonia, and I think that's, you know, fantastic work that Taavi and the guys have done on like the e-residency and all of that. But I think that again, the underlying, you know, like foundation and kind of like the system that we have here, I mean, it's not something that we can take for granted. I mean, if you look at what's going on in other parts of the world, it's again not a given that you know, the world will go in the right direction. I mean, there are like crazy people building walls, and again, I think that what I always say here, that and I mean, of course, involved in building the tunnel between Helsinki and Tallinn. And for me, you know, Helsinki and Tallinn are like the same city. And I think that we need to work on removing these physical, but also these digital barriers, and also think about really a world without borders. Because right now, yes, you can live anywhere and you can do anything anywhere. But I think that we need to think about how we make this very inclusive. And we have a fantastic setup here that it's very transparent. I mean, this is another way that, you know, why would you pay taxes if you don't know how your tax money is used? I think that it's again, if you go to the US, you know, they've been trained to hate taxes for like a long time, because, you know, it's used to all of this, you know, waste. I don't really get value for my money. And you, like, even in this day and age, you discuss that should people have health care. I think that if you ask people here, that okay, probably most people in this part of the world think that, yeah, it's like pretty good to take care of people. And on the education side, I think that was a very good, you know, by Taizo, that okay, education will change, but it's still kind of like the responsibility for all of us to make sure that everybody gets a fantastic education. And I mean, again, Finland, Estonia, both countries, top of the list when it comes to providing fantastic education. And, you know, one thing here that then if you look at things like social mobility, guess what? This part of the world, we have the biggest social mobility anywhere on the planet. And I hate when, you know, like if you look at presidential campaigns in the US where you get these that only in America can a secretary become CEO. Hey, guess what? Here in this part of the world, you can be born like poor, rich, and you can do anything. And it's like normal. So always say that, you know, if you want to see the American dream in action, it's actually alive and kicking here. And it's not so much in America. So, you know, so we should be very, very proud of what we have here. But I also think that it's important that we step up and we apply a bit of leadership, and we show the rest of the world what we need to do. And this goes for Europe as well. So I think that, again, you know, the speech by Kersti here, you know, like, and we should, all our leaders need to understand, you know, the world we live in, and it's not true everywhere, I think.
So you mentioned education. Let's a bit talk about the education, because there's actually two generations that needs to be educated. One is the generation that is now growing up, that is going to run our country, right, in 15 years' time. And actually there's the other generation who is sort of not so tech generation, which is our parents, and who live sort of in their own worlds. How do we educate them? How do how do we make sure that first the new generation is going to be ready to run the world, to run our countries, to run the businesses, and that we don't lose the touch with the elderly people? Maybe.
Indeed, this doesn't happen all by itself, but frankly speaking, nowadays it's not that grown-ups educate children only, it's vice versa. Yes, it applies also everywhere else, but definitely so in digital. So actually getting all our kids well educated and trained also in cyber hygiene. Cyber hygiene will be one of the very important keywords in next 10 years everywhere. And we here, of course, both Finns, Estonians, I believe also Japanese, Israelis, we are a generation ahead of other people. We already have a generation who's grown up in internet, massively so. So now imagine you are only, trying to test the waters now when you have to go straight into Internet of Things. It's far more scary, but people need to do it. So it can only come now from children to parents to grandparents. I think that's very important to note. The uniform education system which guarantees social mobility, this is something which I like to call the only natural resource we have here in Estonia, and I believe it's the same for Finland as well. What concerns Estonia and Finland, then Estonians and Finns here probably know, but maybe the others don't. In fact, since April 2017, these two states have a technical capacity to exchange real-time information between the public services. They need to, still bilaterally agree on how to make use of it, but technical readiness is already there. Yeah. So we are actually inviting other countries on our platform, and there are some other really well-developed cooperation projects with some other countries already. I also wanted to say that this Internet of Things and the risks which come from these elements are scaring away nice people, good people today from cyber sphere in general. And I find it really bad because we cannot give it up for crooks. And we need to act really quickly as public sectors to make sure that people will say, hey, wait a second, do we hand the streets over to crooks just because there are crooks who are ready to go on the streets? Or think of terrorism. We are not going to stop going to concerts just because there are people who try to, limit our freedom to move around in the world. Absolutely same applies for the cyber sphere. We do not handle this sphere over to crooks. We need to, in next 1, 2, 3 years, to react before people get even more and more ingrown to this thinking that cyber is dangerous. Cyber hygiene is a wonderful thing. Just wash your teeth before you go to sleep. It's that simple.
Mm-hmm. They say after the Brexit happened, one of the best tweets I read is that, guys, we should talk more to our parents. So it's about children teaching the parents. I see that Taizo, the Japan and the Asian bubbles on the economy are big, so also the assumption is that then the education has to change and the education has to support the new economy. What do you see the main differences in the education? And we've seen your ideas around the education, but...
one of the biggest issues of the traditional education system, especially in Japan, from my perspective, is that the children go to the school and the classmates are almost the same age. So junior high school students, junior high students, high school students, high school students. 15 years old guys all in a 15 years old guy in one classroom. So that's the big issue, because if you look at the society, every kind of the generations get together and living a life. So it's totally strange from my perspective. So, and also the new technologies we should learn for live a life in the 21st century. So those new technologies all new to all the generations, right? Even the kids, of course, for the kids, it's very new, but for the parents or the old elderly people, it's also new. So I definitely think that we should mingle all the generations and learn new things and new ideas, not just the technology, but a new way of thinking and mindset. So I showed some slides. I started the program, after school program. I'm not involving just the children, but the parents or the other adults who are interested in learning that kind of things. We are inviting all the generations and create something together.
So connecting dots.
Yeah, that's also the connecting dots.
Yeah.
So, and especially the aged people, they love to co-work with the children, right? Because one of their motivations to make a living, live a life. Mm-hmm. So children, of course, are smiling when they are developing something. And also the elderly people got smiled when we invite them. So I strongly believe that we should definitely redesign the school system to mingle all the generations to the one classroom or learning environment.
All right.
Just to add to the complexity of the future running of public sectors, I'm quite sure that the 4 to 6 year degree will be out of the window too. At least it wouldn't carry you much further than it took you to acquire it.
Yes.
And indeed, there will be people of very different age in very different learning modes, acquiring knowledge and I mean doing it in short bursts and then reorienting themselves. Basically, every month you wake up and think in which sector I will work this month. What will I do this month? It will be indeed much different. And what I've been thinking is about, well, how we have evolved as a species. We now know that children actually, yes, indeed, it's true that everybody is new to new technology, but for kids everything's new. There is no distinguishing between technology and crossing the street or learning to eat. So for them, the physiologically better place to learn the new stuff. How long it will take them, this age, as well, for what long you can do, for how long you can try, I mean, continue as a small child.
Yes.
Will rise. I'm sure it will rise. We will see this. Hence, we will actually, well, become more childlike, which is a good thing.
Yes, absolutely. And schools are not anymore for learning the facts, but actually kids learn the facts from some other sources. So it's about combining the facts. You're in Finland very good at the education.
Yeah, and I think that is actually one thing, and I mean, you're very good here in Estonia on education. As if you look at like all the stats, so I mean, like Finland and Estonia are always like top of the charts, and actually also like, you know, Singapore and also Japan. But I think that what is very important there is that how we achieve the results, because if you look at kind of like the model that we have here, short school days, not a lot of homework, and we get fantastic results. And then if you look at the Asian model, super long school days. I mean, the kids go to school like 6 a.m. and they finish their day at 10 or 11 at night. So basically there's school and no life. And I think that what is very, very kind of like good feedback actually when people move to Finland from abroad and they put their young children into daycare, the parents are typically very, very concerned that, hey, wait a minute, you're not teaching the kids anything at kindergarten. And then I say, yes, exactly. You know, they are learning through play. That's how people learn. It's very normal. It's natural. And always say that, you know, like we start school at 7, not like at 5 or like 4 or something like that, that you have to let kids be kids for as long as possible. And of course, now if you know, look at the world, we're going to live to be like 100 or older. So then it's like really crazy if you can like kill the childhood that is, you know, most important part of like human development. So again, these are kind of like things that we don't even know how lucky we are when it comes to education here. You realize when you travel and you see and you talk to your friends in other countries that, hey, wait a minute, like really? And I think that this is something that, again, we're in a very good position, but of course we need to continuously like improve the education. But then I think one thing I also wanted to kind of get back to this, you know, like you mentioned Brexit, and if you look at then like, you know, the US situation and all of that, it's old people who voted for this kind of like not have a change and, you know, let's go back and mining coal and, you know, like building, you know, the big like industry and all of this. And I think that it's this, and it's a big challenge. And I think this on the public side, I mean, the only way to address it, it's through education, because we need to kind of like demystify, you know, the technology. I mean, of course, if you're scared that, oh, there's all this talk about all the jobs going away and self-driving cars and flying machines and all of that, and I don't want to hear any of this. I mean, I just want to go back to mining coal or something. So then, like we need to demystify this, and that's why it's very important. I mean, we have a lot of tech people here, but it's again, to keep in mind that it's, yes, technology enables a lot of things, but we also need to explain that it's not scary, and we need to kind of like really work very hard there, bridging the generations. And I think that, and it's like a tough question, but we have talked about lifelong learning for a long time, and I think that this is what we need to get into a mode where, it's not that you go to kindergarten and then you go through, like your school, and then you graduate, you get to university, and then you're like done, and then you have a job. Because we all know that, like we don't even know, what the future jobs, like the traveling YouTubers and like what have you. So there will be a lot of these kind of like super cool jobs. They're very different. So we just need to prepare for that. And I think I'm not so worried about the younger generations, because the older, and that's the thing that we need to really figure out how to bring them into this and like demystify the whole thing.
Yes. What's your job title, by the way?
That's I've many, but I just use entrepreneur. So that's basically applies. And I think that Taizo was also talking about that. It's again. I think that the cool thing about like being an entrepreneur, that you're like crazy enough to think that you can change the world, and that's what we do.
So let's a bit now look for the future. When I was touring around in the part of the world where Taizo is coming from, then I went to the coffee shop one morning in Sydney, and then the barista started to talk to me, and he asked where I am from. I say from Estonia, and then the barista said, "Oh, you're one of the greatest coffee drinkers on earth. You and Finland, you drink so much coffee, why?" And then the week before, I had a dinner in Singapore, and then I met the new entrepreneur, and he said, "Oh, you're from Estonia, you drink so much vodka. You and Finns, you drink so much." So I said, okay, that's a nice reputation. And then a week later, I was in New Zealand, which is preparing for the winter, and the weather is really awful. It was the early May, and they asked, "Oh, in Estonia, it's the May, it's nice." I said, "No, it's actually snowing. How can we survive? What should we do to survive? Because the climate, we drink because the weather, it's not getting better." So what's the future for us?
First things first, we need to make this planet sustainable, and we are feeling the worst effects indeed, because if there is no temperature difference between equator and Arctic as we are used to, there is no movement of air, hence we freeze over in May and probably will not get colder back in sometimes in October. It will be still 20 or 25. But we need being sustainable to be cheap and comfortable, because we all know that not many people on this earth will go out of their way to be sustainable. They simply don't. Hence, this is the biggest, most immediate challenge, is that the green technologies need to be comfortable. States have tried quite hard to create tax systems to make these things happen. They have experimented with different tax systems and models, and they've created lots of interesting market distortions, which has indeed, given some impetus to green technologies. But I believe right now we need let the market to operate and actually get these green things cheap and comfortable, because if you pay subsidies, then normally you are not able to get the best of the possible technological developments. You will get those which fit your tax system or your market distortion. So indeed, this is a very important issue you raised here.
Yes, but maybe if we kind of go crazy and do some kind of crazy stuff, we've done already, the government has done already, introduced the e-residency. What if, and like Taavi Kotka yesterday raised, we appoint AI as a minister? How, for example, because everything is online in Estonia, we have enough information to predict actually what's going to be in the future. How do you as a president feel AI visiting your office, and you discuss with AI how to run the state?
I wouldn't mind, but I'm a socially tolerable person, and I know not all the society at ease. And the big art of politics actually is to make sure that while you are indeed a demanding frontrunner, you do not lose the rest of the people. and hence I'm not quite sure that we are ready for that yet. But we could try. We could just have additional post and experiment with that. That would be again great advertisement for Estonian digital society.
Let's challenge the Estonian state by introducing artificial intelligence as the next minister. So. But Taizo, what do you think if you look at those bubbles? What does this part of the region or what does this part of the world have that's different than in Asia, besides having billions of people living in Asia? Why do you think from far away why Estonia and Finland and the Nordic region will be successful, why we will survive?
I'd like to ask, that question. So to you guys, that why you made that big great achievement for the innovation, but in every aspect, and actually the Asia has a market, and Asia has people, and exceptionally, Japan, in Japan, the population is decreasing, but the rest of the Asia, all the countries the population is growing very dramatically. So I can feel that the mindset is totally different. That the growing country, people are very aggressive and very forward-thinking, and everybody believes the future. But on the other hand, some people in Japan, of course there's very good people there, but some people are thinking that, oh yeah, no, we are decreasing and we are discouraging, and we don't have to adopt any kind of innovations anymore. We can live a life for just keeping today's figure. So it's a boring, and but I'm so amazed to be here, Estonia and also the Finland, that even though the population is not so growing rapidly like Asia, but the people are very positive and the mindset is very open, and everybody is looking for a global market. So I'd like to ask the question why. So, but I'm so stimulated. And also just connecting dots, and so that you guys can stimulate the rest of the world, I felt that it's a very important role for me to do it.
So Peter and...
Yeah, but I always like to say that, I mean, if you look at this part of the world, and it's like never been more true than today, that we're kind of like the last hope of, you know, the free world. And that's actually, and I'm very serious when I say that, because the thing is that if you look at what we have here, we have fantastic like civil society. I mean, other countries claim to be like democracies and all of that, but I think that if you look at what we created here, that it's very inclusive. So I think that what we see here with Latitude, what we see with Slush, and what we see, you know, what's been going on here. So yes, our natural resource, you know, the people, we educate everybody to a very high level, but then we do things together. So we do things together in Estonia, in Finland, Finland and Estonia together. So I think that this is also a reason why, you know, on the technology side, I mean, here we created Linux, MySQL, a lot of these projects where we work together. And I think that that this is also kind of like a very like human thing, that, I mean, we kind of like to be together and these kind of events, and that's kind of like the whole social nature of kind of like us humans, if you will. And I think that this is something that, again, if you look at the world, we're in a very unique position. And I think also one thing that we all grow up with these like stupid EU maps where you have Finland, Estonia in like the right uppermost corner, and you see like a little piece, and then, you know, this is like Europe. And it's very dangerous with these kind of maps, because then if you look at this map that we have here, I mean, we're actually right at the center of, like, at the heart of Eurasia, as I always like to say, and around us we have 5 billion people, 70% of the world's population. And I think that also what we see here, I mean, with Taizo now here, and we have like Eurasia like represented, and I think that we should have more of this togetherness and working together, I mean, we have already a lot of collaboration with Japan, with China, and I think that it's also something that we need to continue doing, and we have a fantastic opportunity to do even more. And there, then it's, I think the role of the government is to make sure that we have a fantastic environment when it comes to letting people, you know, create all of these fantastic things. So we need to make sure that we have proper regulation and, you know, that we enable this to happen. And I think that I would just say that it's a good start and we're only getting started. So there's going to be like fantastic things. And I mean, when you come to Latitude, you come to Slush, you see a totally different world. And, you know, it's full of people who, you know that they can change the world and they can do anything. And I think that's again, what's always exciting about like being here and then looking at what's going on. So, you know, it's a good start, but
so
really
connect and collaborate.
Absolutely, and doing things together. I think that is very, very important.
President?
I do agree. We are very free, very liberal, and very non-hierarchical.
Yes.
We don't have hierarchy here in Estonia, neither do Finns, by the way, have it. And that creates great opportunities. Actually, the history of Estonia for the last 25 years is a long line of impossible things. Our monetary reform was impossible, managing economy without the Russian market was so impossible, transfer like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania in general, well, also impossible, obviously, of course. There was a prime minister in Estonia who used to say that, I mean, lizards don't know that they cannot run on the water, hence they do. I mean, very simple, it was Mart Laar, by the way. He had a big presentation about it. But it's not given that we can continue like that. For example, Kaidi, you and I, was it last summer or 2 years ago? I don't even remember, frankly speaking, maybe even 3, could have been. We've been talking, we have an investment, we have a tax system which actually promotes capital investment.
Yes.
But we don't have a tax system or another option parallel to this where you could maybe opt out of the regime for nice capital investment and instead have something which will help you to pay the social taxes because 90% of your budget is salaries.
Yes.
I think we need to keep thinking under these lines all the time. And if you and I could think about it 2 years ago, it would be reasonable that by now we already had some ideas at least going on what we could do. And we don't that much. So that is why, well, I keep nagging and nagging that we need to change and think ahead even quicker. And I know, I mean, some things I'm talking about, well, people say they are not connected to reality. I'm sorry, they are connected to reality quicker than you could ever expect. Wake up.
Yeah.
So it's about... So it's about supporting the growth, supporting the change. Now, we're getting a bit closer to the end of the panel and approaching the questions. One last question to you, and as President pointed out that we've done things that are impossible, then if you would have a chance to set up 2 startups, what would it be? Any of you who could start 2 startups, what would it be? And why?
Why 2?
Okay, pick one.
Or why only 2, I guess.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking to entrepreneurs, the serial ones.
I would just like something in education because that's like a huge market, 6.3 trillion, and that's also actually what I do. So you know,
business thinking.
So that's and it's big business, but also it's something that can be totally transformative. And I think again we talked about education a lot, so I think it's kind of like it's big and it's the right thing to do. And then I think also something around. Enabling kind of like even more of this growth. So I think that and we might be working on some of that. But yeah.
The people like me who is living for the big countries like Japan, the citizens are not thinking that we can change the country by ourselves because it's too big and too sophisticated and too complicated. So when I visited the Estonia and Singapore, like a smaller country compared to the US or the Japan and China and so on, the government and the citizens are much closer and they can talk frankly. And So that was amazing to me, like me, who is living in a big country. So because we don't have any opportunities to talk directly to the prime minister, for example, frankly, it's very difficult. So, so the people, I like to give you the proposal that the people like you guys who are living in a smaller country, that you guys should be the great leaders of the world to bring the new innovations and test it in the first place, and then stimulate the rest of the world. So the big countries are just the followers of the smaller countries. So if I could be the one of the citizens of the Estonia, for example, and then I will do the very, very innovative, forward-thinking startup, any kind of startup. And of course, sometimes it will face the regulatory issues, sometimes. And then talk with Mrs. President. And then if the people like the President, hey, why don't you do it? And if it is too radical, then why don't you do it in a regulatory sandbox and test it?
Yes.
And then we will definitely do, and then stimulate the rest of the world.
All right.
So that will be your guys' the role for the world, I think.
So we can start actually making you Estonian e-resident. Kaspar, where are you? Yeah. Let's ask.
I think this is super important what Taizo just said, and I think that it's again one of these things that you don't necessarily realize, but the kind of like the attitude and like this non-hierarchical nature of our society is here. So basically, everybody here grows up that of course you can go and talk to the president or the prime minister, and you know, like it's normal. They're just like you know, normal people. And I remember I had some Chinese visitors in Helsinki, and then ahead of us, like in the street, we had Esko, who is former prime minister of Finland. And I say, hey, that's our former prime minister. Let's go say hi. And then they were like, what? Former prime minister? You can go and talk to him? I say, of course. It's normal. And I had to tell a story. Like I was in Tokyo, and there's an event where Prime Minister Abe was also talking. And then I got to the event, and they asked me that, okay, is there anything they can do for me at the event? And I said, yeah, I saw that you're prime minister here. I have a very important message. I would like to talk to him. And then, you know, in Japan, that they couldn't say no. They were like, okay, you know, and you can. And then they came back in a little bit and said that, oh, there is a photo shoot opportunity that, you know, maybe you go there and you have a chance to talk to the prime minister. And then I was there. He came in, and then he saw me in a red hoodie, walked up to me and said, hi, I'm Peter, I'm here to help you with the third arrow in Abenomics. And he looked, who is this crazy guy? But the thing is that, you know, like, of course you can. There's no reason why you can't do that, but I think that it's, you have created a very sophisticated society in Japan, and you have like a fantastic, you know, cultural traditions. But I think also what we need to fight here and in Japan and everywhere, that we shouldn't let traditions and these like things that you're supposed to do get in the way. I think this is something that's a fantastic point.
It's the human-created barriers, right?
Yes, yes.
I would like the universities to be open to much younger people than they are nowadays, and not to be so dependent of acquiring your secondary education already.
Yes.
Why cannot children just start popping into the university courses, listening in? One startup idea from me. Another, I would like to have a county in Estonia called Sandbox County somewhere, which will be able to...
Põlva and Rapina.
Maybe, which could actually start from the viewpoint of community, be totally community-driven up to the level of settling their own taxes. The only condition, transparency, it all needs to be available on the internet, where the money came from and how it was spent. For a couple of years, I would enjoy really to have such a sandbox startup. And third thing, I would also like actually to support some ideas which I have been putting in front of this society. For example, since Teachers Congress this year, I've been asking, why on earth our children graduate from kindergarten monolingual? They should all be able to speak at least 2 languages. Of course, we have this issue that some people need to learn Estonian really quickly because they came from elsewhere. But why are Estonian kids missing out? Well, my question is, can we do something about it? Second, I would very much like to put not only my mouth but some money where it is. I mean, for the sustainable 2030 in Estonia, we know that already under current technology, transport is the only thing which we cannot do 100% sustainable, 100% green energy consumption. Everything else, tech-wise, you don't need to innovate, you just need to apply. We are the smartest grid in Europe. We should actually make use of that smartest grid. We have smart meters already installed everywhere. We have also our TSO, system operator, is creating a system which will allow us to flexibly, change between different heating and energy provision systems quite soon already. Let's make use of this. But of course, I don't know whether presidents of Estonia are allowed to fundraise at all. I will have to look into it.
Well, it's about breaking the barriers, so why not?
Yeah, I mean,
Why
in
not?
America they can do anything, so why not?
All right, let's open up the questions. We have time for 2 fast questions, and then we have the first one. And then Taizo-san has a nice announcement, right?
Yeah, right.
So, first.
So, Valdo Leo from Emonum and another guy from the Finnish Bay Area. So thank you. But there is the great opportunities, possibilities. But what, for example, after the panel, what is our next steps? Do you have in mind to go together, or what is the next step?
Who would like to take the next step?
Obviously, being a politician, I would anyway, if I told you something I would like to do, definitely I have some tricks up on my sleeve, so watch the public space here in this country.
Today at 12, I think, me and Peter and quite many Nordic startup founders, we're going to have a meetup because, again, we think that if we unite the entrepreneurs from the region to make the region better, then this is the community-driven initiative.
Yeah. And actually we are working on addressing again like the next set of like challenges, and I think that we have some big plans to make the ecosystem here bigger, and it's not like a coincidence that it's all of us here on stage. So we have been working on some pretty big things when it comes to kind of like funding and how we can accelerate the development here. And I think again how we can do that, Finland and Estonia together. And now we're just hoping that we can also then get our governments to move as fast as we are, and we have a lot of things up our sleeves as well. So.
As for the next steps, we have a very, very concrete 2 steps. One is that we decided that we will definitely support the Funderbeam to extend to the Asian countries, so that Asian startups can list it on the Funderbeam and make a great fundraising. So that will be the first one. And also I have another announcement that we will, as I said, I will connect the dots, and also we should definitely learn from the Estonia, the excellence of the Estonia. So we will adapt the Estonian great technology of the security system and the identification system and so on, like including X-Road and so on. We will utilize those technology to the world in the beginning in Japan. So we decided to a hybrid company among the Japan and Estonia called the Planet Way. Please come, Planet Way guy.
Where are you?
We will definitely support them to expand to the world.
Welcome. Congratulations. I understand that. Congratulations. You have a wonderful new investor, right?
Yes.
Great. So it is the connecting dots.
Yep.
So very good next steps.
Yes. So they will be the Kaidi you, and they are the great role models and examples for the connecting dots among the Estonia and also the rest of the world.
All right. Thanks.
Please support us.
Thank you. I think we're going to close the panel because time is running out, and we're going to have some more interesting events and discussions coming. I would like to thank a lot the panel for the great discussion. The president, Taizo's son, Peter,